Hi, I'm Travis Newhouse from AppFormix.
And I'm Kenny Johnston from Rackspace and OSIC, the OpenStack Innovation Center. We're here to talk to you about some of the great partnership we have between Rackspace, OSIC, and AppFormix, specifically how we use AppFormix to make really smart decisions with the 1,000-node cluster that we run in the OpenStack Innovation Center. I wanted to give a little bit of background about the OpenStack Innovation Center itself. So it's a partnership between Rackspace and Intel, really geared towards bringing a new breed of OpenStack contributors to OpenStack. We've trained over almost 200 new OpenStack developers since we started. And then another real core component is our providing of the cluster so that we can push operational expertise at scale throughout the community. It's available. You can go to osic.org and request access to this cluster. And I wanted to show you how what the usage has been like on the cluster and how we've used AppFormix to highlight that. So since the cluster started, it's about a 242-node specific cloud. You can also get bare metal access to it, but we'll be talking about the specific cloud portion of that environment. And oftentimes we have to make decisions about whether we move hardware resources from the bare metal allocation into the cloud itself, and we really rely on AppFormix to allow us to make smart decisions about how and when we do that. So Travis, do you want to show us a little bit about AppFormix?
Yes, thank you, Kenny. Showing here what called the capacity planning tool of the AppFormix dashboard. At the bottom you can see a graph here of both used capacity and available capacity broken down on a flavor by flavor basis. So there's many different flavor types in the OSIC cluster that users can request for their workloads. And here we're seeing kind of a trend over time over the last week leading up to the summit. You can kind of see there was a large spike of testing going on throughout the week, kind of changing throughout the day. And then it looks like everyone started traveling the last few days to the summit, a lot less tests. But one of the main projects running on this OpenStack cluster is running test jobs for all OpenStack contributions. And I think they allow up to 1,000 instances to be created at any given time for those test jobs. And they're running both on spinning disk as well as SSD. Different flavor types use different types of instances inside the cluster. And you can see sort of a breakdown of the different instance types across the cluster that are active right now. Different flavors, mediums, some with SSDs, some with spinning disks. Some of these VMs are long-lived. They're for engineers that perform work on OpenStack and on the OSIC cluster. And then, like I said, some of them are these ephemeral test jobs that spin up and maybe run for as short as a few seconds if there's a failure, or as long as several minutes for a long-running test. And as a whole, you can see kind of with the AppFormix dashboard what's going on in the health of the infrastructure, and this is useful for the operations team of the OSIC cloud. They can see all 242 hosts, see if any of them are not responding or if they're not meeting the SLA that they want to configure in terms of CPU, memory, disk, and network I/O. And then you can see the number of instances. It's constantly changing throughout the day as instances come up and down and the various projects they belong to. We can see and navigate to this OpenStack Jenkins project, where we're seeing the quotas, what's there, how many instances. Right now there's 161 instances of various flavor types. These S35 are specialized SSD flavors, and then some have spinning disk. And as Kenny mentioned, the operators want to know, what the utilization is, and then whether they want to add or remove resources, use them for bare metal or for the OpenStack environment. So they can actually look at the aggregates that have been discovered in this OpenStack environment. We see that there's, like I said, the spinning disk, the SSDs, and they can do a graph and understand what's going on with each of these hosts. So here I'm looking at charts for all of the hosts inside the spinning disk aggregate. We're graphing 10 at a time. We can sort which ones we want to look at. If we want to look at if I/O wait time is important on these, then we can sort my what's being shown here on the left, the top 10 users of the top 10 I/O wait time. In the graphs here, I'm seeing CPU utilization of the hosts, disk I/O, and we can see each host kind of behaving within some tolerable band. We have memory usage and network I/O as well. There's dozens of metrics in AppFormix that you can respond to and look at. You can look at swap pages if you're interested in that, amount of swap usage. And then you can also look at other, like I said, SSDs might have different characteristics. So these are all kind of capacity planning tools and real-time tools that operators can use in the OSIC cluster to help keep it running optimally for the community.
Yeah, and one thing I just want to point out, Travis mentioned two of our biggest consistent users are OpenStack Infra, which handles the gating of OpenStack itself, and our OSIC engineering team, which again is a 100-plus person engineering team working full-time on OSIC. So you see a lot of the patterns correlating to their usage. And one of the things we did right before the final release time window was ramp up the OpenStack Infra quota. And we had to use AppFormix we relied on AppFormix to give us smart information about, as we ramped up that quota, how was the cluster performing? Was it able to handle the increased load? And it ended up actually lowering the gate time on OpenStack Infra from 12 hours to about 20 minutes at one point. That's the kind of thing that we can do and be responsive to because we have access to this kind of data to make smart choices.
Wrapping up?
Yeah, I think that's all we have. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.